During these 5 years, no Muslim was allowed in the mosque to pray. The Muslim hatred against the British increased so much that they began to reject anything that belonged to or came from the British. The British opened English schools, introduced English medicine, science, technology, and new government procedures. But Muslims rejected them all, whereas the Hindus came forward to enlighten themselves with the new knowledge. Sayyid Ahmad Khan's name occupies an important position in the Muslim history of India. He pulled the Muslims out of their deep slumber and had them realize the need for modern education in science and technology. His study of Islam convinced him that Islam is not a hindrance to the path of progress. Islam actually encourages the study of science, technology, and modern education, which would lead to moral living. He also found out that Islam has a built-in elasticity in the teachings and can be adopted easily at any age of civilization. Sayyid Ahmad Khan was loyal to the British government and worked for them since the age of 21. In 1864 AD, he established the Scientific Society and started a bi-weekly publication, Aligarh Institute. Of course, this developed the famous Aligarh Muslim University, which became a great asset to the Muslim community. English language was introduced, and scientific books by the Western authors were translated in Urdu. Allah blessed the Muslims of India by creating Muhammad Iqbal, who had the genius to trigger the true Islamic thought in the Muslim minds through his poetry. Iqbal's Islamic poetry became a household dialogue in Muslim India, and the rhyme of his poetry touched the emotions of millions of Muslims. In 1905, he went to England to study law and philosophy at Cambridge. In 1907 AD, he moved to Heidelberg, Germany, to study at the University of Munich. He was deeply impressed by Germany, and his admiration for Goethe was boundless. He studied the Western philosophies and Islamic teaching thoroughly. His poetry provided reactions to the prevailing evils of the socio-religious life of the Muslims in the subcontinent in the last decades of the 19th century. His poetry made it clear that the progress of Muslim civilization, growth, and development of human thought and personality were the basic features of Islamic thought and practice. These are a few of his remarkable lines. Any time I prostrated before God and set my forehead on the ground, I heard a voice from the ground. Your heart is a friend of the idols. What will you get from a Muslim prayer? Muslims have one Kaaba, one God, one Quran. Then why is it so difficult for Muslims to be united? Iqbal delivered the following words in 1930 while presiding over the annual meeting of the All India Muslim League in Allahabad. I would like to see the Punjab Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh, and Balochistan amalgamated into a single state. Self-government within the British Empire or without the British Empire, the formation of a consolidated Northwest Indian state appears to me to be the final destiny of the Muslims, at least of Northwest India. Iqbal died on April 21, 1938. A major step towards establishing a separate Muslim political platform occurred when Agha Khan led a deputation of 35 Muslims and presented an address to the Viceroy of England on October 1, 1906. In his address, he emphasized that if Indian organizations were being introduced to the British government, it was necessary to recognize the political importance of the Muslims and the valuable contribution they made to the empire. He expressed his wish that Muslim interest be safeguarded in the municipal and local boards and provincial and imperial legislative councils. The British government accepted the address with sympathy. The leading members of the Muslim deputation gathered in Dhaka in Bangladesh on December 30, 1906, and announced the formation of All India Muslim League. The purpose was to promote among the Muslims the loyalty to the British Crown and to protect the political rights and interests of the Muslims. The Sultan of Turkey was the Muslim Khalifa. The Muslims of India had special reasons to regard the Sultan as their Khalifa. They had no strength in India. On August 4, 1914, Britain declared war on Germany and Turkey joined Germany in this war. A great dilemma occurred among the Indian Muslims. How could they support the British, who would kill and damage the Caliphate of Turkey due to this war? The anti-British feelings among the Muslims strengthened, but they had no organization to mount even a protest against the British. The Muslim League was pro-British. Hence, with the growing resentment toward the British policies against the Muslim world, the Muslim League began to see the advantage of working with Congress, who was not in favor of British rule. At this time, a star had joined the Congress. He had been elected by the Muslim electorate of Bombay to be a member of the Congress and the Imperial Legislature. This star was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, whose main objective was to lead the national cause and be an ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Jinnah became a leading member of the Congress and also respected the objectives of the Muslim League. However, at this time, 1913, his focus was on the overall Indian national cause. In 1916, both Muslim League and Congress came up with an agreement known as the Lucknow Pact, which stated the full Constitution of India demanding self-government at an early date. Gandhi realized the inherent color prejudices of the British, who continued to open British white clubs in India where Indians were not allowed. Several British viceroys of India had openly announced the racial and intellectual superiority of the English people to the Indian people during their early rule. But they did not realize the coming of a man who was to rekindle the old and forgotten doctrine of love and equality to mankind, regardless of skin color or race. It was Gandhi who began to protest against the British in action through non-violent methods. There was a total surprise and also a self-realization to the British when they faced this truth. When Gandhi came back to India from South Africa, he found that both Hindus and Muslims had joined hands in their struggle against the British, and this was a suitable situation for him to put his non-violent methods. The Muslims had no objection to non-violent movement because Islam allows it as the first approach. At the annual session held at Nagpur in December 1920, Gandhi assumed control of Congress, which was attended by a huge number of Muslims who supported him. However, Muhammad Ali Jinnah did not support this idea and opposed it. He was shouted down by the Ali brothers and did not get enough support for his opposition. He was quite depressed and rejected. His very personality did not match with Gandhi's ideals, and he could not see how he could remain under the leadership of Gandhi. He had served the Indian National Congress for 15 years, but his ideology was different. He quit Congress. The Hindu leaders of the Congress, Tilak, Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Gokhale, came from the provinces of the Hindu majority and did not really know the pains of the Muslim minorities. Their ideology was focused on the freedom of India from the British, and they did not think the growing rift between the Hindus and Muslims had any importance. The Congress decided to draft a constitution for India. Motilal Nehru led this committee for the Constitution in 1928 and prepared the report known as the Nehru Report. The report abolished the electorate based on Hindus or Muslims and offered joint electorates for elections to Indian Parliament and legislatures with no reserved seats for any community. The Nehru Report totally ignored the demands of the Muslims. In December 1928, the report was presented at the All India Convention before both Congress and the Muslim League. The Muslim League discovered that the future constitution of free India might not include any political platforms for Muslims. It was concluded that Muslim security would be in danger if the Nehru Report was to be recognized. It is at this time Muhammad Ali Jinnah realized the importance of Muslim identity. During the convention, Jinnah attacked the report strongly. He demanded that Muslims should be given 1/3 of the seats in the future Parliament of India. But the convention totally rejected Jinnah's demands, and the Muslims felt insecure. A new thought was